Welcome to the Secrets of Confident Women podcast, where you'll learn all the best tips, tricks, and practical techniques for building the confidence levels you've always wanted. With inspiring interviews, real-life examples, and game-changing insights, this podcast is for women who know that mastering the skill of confidence is one of the most important things they'll ever do.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Secrets of Confident Women podcast. And I'd love to start off today by saying a big thank you to each and every one of you that is listening right now and who have subscribed to our podcast over the last couple of weeks. Oh my God, we are beyond thrilled with the launch of this podcast, and it's been so encouraging and motivating to keep receiving your amazing feedback. So, you know what, if you've got a second, please leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. And look, a huge thank you to everyone who's already left us a review or a rating. They make such a huge difference to us and to our new listeners, to help them find us so that we can get our message out to all women who really need to be involved in this conversation we're having here. And you know what? Today's episode is no different, because today we're discussing one of my absolute favorite topics ever, which is fear. Now, Anastasia and I talk to our clients about this all the time because you know what? It's always relevant and it applies to so many people and so many different situations. So, welcome, Anastasia. I am so glad that you're here today to help us chat about the topic of fear, because we know that this is a topic that we can talk about forever.
Yes, we can. Hi, Jody, and hello, everyone. Yes, I absolutely love this one too. Fear in so many different forms is something that we come across a lot whenever we speak to women in our coaching or in our presentations. Yeah, and it just manifests in so many different ways, like fear of the unknown, fear of failure, or even, fear of what people might think.
Oh my God. And there's so many more, like fear of mistakes or past mistakes, fear of making new mistakes. Oh my God. The one I hear all the time is fear of making the wrong decision.
Yep.
And even the fear that comes from like making no decision, just like not even stepping
They're
into
everywhere, right?
Making a fear. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, fear is with us all the time, even if you don't know it. And as you'll learn in today's episode, that's actually really great. And look, we know that you think that living without fear would be amazing and, you'd get to do everything you ever wanted to do in your life. But the sad truth is that's never going to happen. I'm sorry. We can't live without fear, so we may as well just learn to love it.
Well, sure, but that's easier said than done. And look, I'll have to agree with you. Fear is not going anywhere. But first, I want you to consider this. Everything you ever wanted to do, but you didn't, is because of fear. Now, I know that sounds like a really broad statement and you're probably wondering how true that really is. But trust me, if you think about it, everything you ever wanted to do, but you didn't do, it's because of fear was in the way. And as we mentioned it, maybe it's a fear of the unknown, or maybe it was a fear of failure, or a fear of what other people might think is another big one that comes up, or fear of making the wrong decision is one that comes up all the time, or any other of the irrational fears that plague our lives. But it definitely always comes back to fear. Now, look, firstly, it is so important to know that fear exists in everyone. And once you know that, but not only know that, truly accept it, it's actually so much easier to manage it, because you realize that the emotions you're feeling are not exclusive to you. You are not alone, and you're not any different from anyone else, because everyone feels similar fears all the time. And this is one of the biggest insights that our clients get, whether they're listening to the fear module in the course or we're talking about it during a coaching session. I can almost see the moment that they get it, that the fear they are feeling is meant to be there and that it's totally normal. And from that point on, they understand that it's not about the absence of fear, it's about how they manage it. You see, feeling fear is not the problem. It's how you learn to manage the fear that counts. And look, if other people are feeling fear all the time too, and they're still doing amazing things, then what's to stop you from also doing amazing things?
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good question because the reality is nothing, right?
No.
It's funny, but that concept is actually what got me through one of the scariest experiences of my life. Well, it was at the time anyway. You see, I was actually petrified of giving birth. I mean, I always wanted children. I know it sounds like a really common fear, right?
I think for some of us women, for sure.
I know. And look, some women have, horrific births and it is petrifying, but I'd never given birth before and it was just something that scared me so much. And I was actually hoping that by the time it came to my turn, that there'd be like a magical way of pushing babies out with like no drugs and no pain. So it turns out there wasn't. No, it never happened. I'm still waiting. But in the lead up to my first birth, I just kept telling myself, millions of women have done this before. And I'm sure they were all just as scared as you, but they did it. And so can you. You are not alone. Now, I can't tell you how many times I said this to myself. I swear I was like a broken record in my own head. And it only got worse when I watched a live birth in one of our prenatal classes.
Oh, yeah, that's fun, isn't it?
Why do they do this to women? It's like you're already scared enough as it is, right? And there's weird stuff going on. And they just go, here, let's show you what's coming. I mean, it just makes it worse. But then I thought about it and I realized that's exactly why they do it. They know we're scared. They know that you can't avoid the situation that's created the fear, right? Whether you like it or not, that birth is coming. So they figure, stuff it. Let's just help them face their fears by showing them that it has been done before, that it will be done again, and that they will be fine. And so then, of course, when it came time to give birth to my second child, about a year and a half later, I was still petrified.
Oh, yeah.
But I knew I'd done it before. And in that time, so many of my friends had done it and I became more familiar with that feeling and I knew I could do it again because I'd faced my fears once before and I'd won.
Yeah, and I totally understand because it happens to me all the time. And oh my God, I had the exact same feelings about childbirth myself. But you know what, honestly, doing my first ever Facebook Live was almost as scary. I mean, feeling different degrees of fear is part of our daily life. Even, remembered I had to a couple of years ago referee my son's soccer game. And oh my goodness, it brought so many fears to the surface. Because I just hadn't done it before and,
something new and different.
I had to throw, and it was really put on the spot. I had to sort of jump in quickly and make that happen.
Yep.
And you know what? Sometimes even just have the thought of having an awkward conversation with someone can also be quite scary. But it's just everywhere, and fear is part of our daily lives. And it's funny because whilst most people think that fear is something to be avoided at all costs, look, confident women know that the best thing you can do with fear is to make it your friend.
Yep.
Like embrace it and become familiar with it and try to feel fear more often, because becoming comfortable with the feeling of fear is actually what will help you overcome it every time. And the thing is, you know what, we just sort of don't have a choice because, as I've already said, fear is here to stay. And look, I know that probably sucks to hear that, but it's true. So why fight it? It's here.
Yeah, exactly. And it is true. And I mean, if you can't change something, right, you manage it. You learn to manage it. And the reality is this: our brains are designed to feel fear as a natural instinct, is part of who we are, whether we like it or not. And it's actually a good thing though, because the fear is there to keep us safe and alive, which is, after all, the primary function of our brains, right?
Yeah.
And fear is good at alerting us to danger and giving us a heads up, whenever there's something that we should be paying special attention to. But here's something you may not know about fear. Did you know that the same part of your brain that processes your physical fear actually also processes social fear? All right. It's strange, but there's actually tons of scientific research around this. And it opens up a whole new way of thinking about fear. Because you see, this means that the fear of facing, say a ferocious dog on the street is actually the same as the fear of presenting in front of your peers at work.
Yeah.
As far as your brain is concerned, they're no different. And this is why we tend to experience similar reactions in either of these types of situations. You know, the sweaty palms, the racing heartbeat, sometimes even that urge to retreat. You'll get it if you see a dog on the street, and you'll get it if you need to stand up and present at work.
That surge of adrenaline. Isn't it? It's just that surge of everything just going on.
Exactly. Your brain can't tell the difference.
No.
They're all the same as far as your brain's concerned, and there is a scientific and biological reason for it. because our brains haven't evolved, not that much from our caveman times. We say this all the time. Our brain is there to keep us safe and to keep us alive. So when we experience fear in any form, our brain's instinct is to do whatever it takes to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of whether that fear relates to our physical safety or our social safety, because the goal every time is to survive. And this is why fear is always such a powerful driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is that it's usually most people tend to retreat from whatever is causing the fear, and that can lead to so many unwanted emotions and consequences. But look, if you are facing a ferocious dog on the street, by all means, you should retreat.
Yeah, and quickly. Do it quickly.
You should go, and that's there. That instinct is that learning from our brains is there to keep us safe. But in a social setting or presenting something at work, the fact that there's no real imminent sort of danger to your life means that you can actually use this fear to your advantage, because you see, fear will more often than not result in regret. And there's nothing worse than regretting something that you wish you tried but you just never did. Yeah. And funnily enough, often the feeling of fear is never as terrible as the feelings of helplessness or, and regret, like I said, that it creates. So in order to manage this, there are 3 crucial things that you must know about fear.
Yep. Let me take the first one because I love it so much. This is my favorite thing. It's that fear lives on the edge of your comfort zone. And look, we hate to push the point, but again, we've just said fear is here to stay. Mm-hmm. It's in your life for a reason. And as we've already discussed, it's not always a bad thing. What is terrible, though, is letting that fear control your decisions and stopping you from living the life that you really want. Look, fear will not go away as long as you're growing and expanding your horizons, which is why you actually want it to stay in your life, because it shows you exactly where the edge of your comfort zone is. And, sometimes it's really hard to find that place because we all get so comfortable living well within the boundaries of our comfort zone and doing, day in, day out, the same things. And we're never experiencing that fear because we're not pushing ourselves.
Yeah.
And look, if you're experiencing fear, and unfortunately you often will, it means that you are pushing your limitations and your boundaries, and that's actually a really great thing.
Yeah,
so the key is to live with fear and manage it, not to hope that it will go away.
Well, it's not going away. So
no, it's not. So if you're feeling it, it's great. That's basically in a nutshell. If you are feeling fear, it's actually really great, unless there's a scary dog on the street.
Yes.
But it means that you are on the edge of your comfort zone, and that means that you're slowly pushing your boundaries out, and that's a really great thing.
Oh, and it's just so true, because it really is that, right on the edge of your comfort zone is exactly where you want to be living, because that's where just the magic happens, and the joy and feeling like, don't you want to feel like you are achieving stuff and expanding, making progress, and learning and becoming bigger than what you are instead of retreating. So
and there's nothing better than that adrenaline rush of I've just conquered a fear.
Oh,
right?
Exactly. And that's why there are adrenaline junkies, because they want that feeling. They want to get comfortable with that feeling of fear.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they're not scared. These people keep doing crazy things. It doesn't mean they're not scared. It just means that they've just become so comfortable with it. They've embraced it in their life.
Oh, absolutely. And that is leading on to the second thing to know about fear, and that is that fear is fear. And this, the last one you said is your favorite one. This concept of fear is my favorite one.
Yep.
So fear is fear. So we talked earlier about the fact that your brain responds to fear in the same way every time, regardless of what kind of fear you're experiencing. And the great thing about this is that conquering your fear in one area of your life will actually help you in other areas too, because the feeling of fear is the same.
Yeah.
So, if you start to think about that, then facing your fear of, say, riding a horse will help you face your fear of speaking in front of your work colleagues and presenting something at work or presenting in front of a group of an audience or something that you might have to do. Or, facing your fear of applying for a promotion will help you face your fear of maybe publishing a book or creating an online course or doing a
Bungee
Facebook
jumping
or
even.
bungee jumping
Anything.
or doing a Facebook Live.
Yep.
It's because the feeling of fear is the same. And this is why I always talk about I love riding roller coasters. It's my one.
Yeah, me not so much.
One,
Just so you know. Me not
I
so
just
much.
love riding roller coasters, and it's great because I married someone who also loves riding roller coasters. So
Lucky
it was
you.
funny when we went to America a couple of years ago. Like the kids we're like, kids, stand here, hold our bags. And Mum and Dad are taking on the big scary roller coaster ride. So, but you know what? It's fearful. It's so fearful. I love the feeling, but it gets me intimate with that feeling again. And, I used to, not so much this year because the Easter show was cancelled, but every year that's when I do know that the roller coasters will be there. And every year I sort of give myself that like bit of a kick in the backside again to go, okay, strap yourself into the plastic seat, put on the harness, like let's intimately feel the feeling of fear again, which is quite extreme, on most of those really scary rides. But if I feel like I'm not, just not
Charged enough.
if not facing, I'm feeling a lot of fear about different things in business or what have you, and not sort of, I'm pushing the edge of my comfort zone, but not really pushing the edge of my comfort zone. There's nothing like a good roller coaster ride to really snap you into action. And it is that act. It's like forcing myself to get into action and just make it happen and intimately feel that feeling of fear again and get used to it. It's just getting comfortable, like I said, with that feeling of fear.
Well, that's perfect because that leads us to probably the most important thing you need to know about fear. The first two are kind of a lead up to understanding how fear operates. But this one is great because this is what will help you get past it. And it's that only action can conquer fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the truth. The only way to manage and conquer your fear of doing something is to go out and actually do it.
Do it, yes.
You could be scared of something for 20 years. You will never conquer that fear until you do it.
Yeah.
The first time, the second time, the fifth time, the 10th time. Look, you can't allow the fear to stop you because that will make you hesitate in life. And when you hesitate, you're actually telling your brain that there is something to fear. Whether you should be afraid of this or not, every time you hesitate, you are reinforcing to your brain that this thing is fearful and it's scary. And look, the more you hesitate, the more you are teaching your brain to embed this fear as its natural default position. So it will always revert to that. The second you hesitate, your brain will think, oh, this must be scary, back away. And then the hesitation will start to feel more and more normal to you. And this is exactly how your fears will start to control your life. And that is not what you want.
No.
And look, as we've already mentioned, fear is normal, right? Hesitation is actually quite normal too. Look, even freaking out when you're trying something new is totally normal.
Totally normal.
Yeah. There is nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Actually
and it's
expected.
not, there's nothing freakish about it. Everyone experiences it and there is nothing wrong with it. But if you really want to manage these fears and stop them from running your life, there's only one thing to do. You just need to feel more fear more often. Jody will jump into a roller coaster because she's due for kind of a fear hit. And the only way you can do this is to move into action often because this is what will help you face and overcome your fears. And I mean, really, it's common sense, right? Yeah. The more you do something, the less scary it becomes, whatever it is. Because the more you become comfortable with what you're doing and you start to believe that you've, that feeling of I've done it before, I can do it again. And that only comes with repetition and with action. And it applies to everything, even fear. So the key here is to get into action more often because action is actually what will conquer fear every time.
Yeah, exactly. And let me give you a good example of how this works because, look, those of you who know me know that, really, I'm a frustrated Broadway actress in disguise.
Yes, she is.
I mean, I love being on a stage. I always wanted to be on Broadway but I couldn't sing, so that was a big major point.
She's got the sparkly shoes for it.
I wish I had the sparkly shoes. But I love a microphone in my hand and I love speaking to an audience. But I still feel fear about it every single time. And I know I've been at presentations And, you know, I remember we were at one of the presentations in the city one day, and I was about to go on, and the photographer, and I'm out the back, like pacing and, you know, doing my usual thing.
I can vouch for this. It happens every time.
Trying to keep my head in the game and, you know, spraying deodorant 13,000 times. And the photographer who was there, who was sort of waiting at the back too, said, "What's wrong?" And I went, "Oh, it's just the fear." And he said, "Oh, do you feel fear? I thought you did these presentations all the time." And it was like those examples. It's like, of course I feel fear. Like, I don't know why people think that it goes away, because every single time I get up on stage, I get the same feelings of fear that come to the surface. And, you know, the thoughts that come up that, oh my God, what if they hate me? And what if I stuff this up? And, you know, is my bra strap showing? And, you know, what if I fall over? Or what if I forget what I'm supposed to say? Like, all those thoughts are there. And there are so many ridiculous fears that pop up for me, but they never go away. And it's just, you know, I do it so often now, though, that I'm, you know, probably not this year because the speaking stuff's gone. But, you know, before I was doing it so often, and I mean, I was in action around speaking to an audience, that I'm comfortable with the feelings and that I know how to get rid of them. Like, I expect for every presentation, I know that hour before. And you've been there when I've been like,
we know what's coming.
Okay, here it comes, like it's kicked in.
And
like
we're ready for it.
The adrenaline starts releasing and the feelings come up and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's there every single time I'm going to do a presentation. But you know, I know how to deal with that now. But it's not the fact that I'm doing presentations because there's no feeling of fear there.
Yeah.
It's because I'm managing the feeling that's there.
Correct.
It's not that it's disappeared.
You're getting into action over it.
That's
You're
right.
just
I mean,
doing it.
and the thoughts might be different, you know, no matter what you're facing, whether you're riding a roller coaster. I'm not thinking, oh, what if they hate me? They're like, oh my God, what if I die and fall off? Is my harness connected? The thoughts might be different, but the feelings are the same. That feeling of fear is the same.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in order to get through that, I channel, you know, my confidence techniques, and I calm my heart and I get my head in the game, and then I just do it. And look, no one is telling you to conquer your fear of public speaking by getting up in front of a group of, you know, 500 people the first time. I mean, that would be and is terrifying.
Yeah.
For anyone, no matter how much you love speaking. But the trick is to take baby steps and keep moving forward, keep getting into action, and keep the forward momentum going. You know, look, I started doing presentations to 10 people and gradually took on larger audiences. You know, if I started the very first time in front of 500 people, then the feelings of fear would be so much greater that first time. They would be so hard to manage.
And you'd be more likely to retreat because it would just be too scary and it would feel unmanageable.
Well, what you wouldn't be used to managing that feeling.
No,
it would
it's
be
too
something
excessive.
quite, you know, unknown. And, you know, my dream now, my goal now is to speak to, you know, thousands of people in the audience.
Now, if anyone has any connections to TED Talk, we'd love a TED Talk referral. Thanks.
But to do it in front of thousands now, when that's something I haven't done, I mean, I'll do it, but holy guacamole. Like the feelings before that is going to be right back to, you know, when
the first time
with 10 people, and the first time, you know, there was 100 people in the room, and it just keeps going because but the feeling of fear, I know that's something that I've practiced in how to manage that now.
And that's confidence, right? Like that
confidence.
Belief in yourself. So you've got this feeling of fear and it's small the first time and you manage it. And then there's that little confidence hit of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
And then the second time it comes around, the feeling might be a little bit bigger, but you've done it before. So you've got that little confidence boost behind you. And then you achieve again, and then your confidence hit gets bigger. And that's like one of the key ways to increase your confidence is to slowly but consistently and regularly manage this fear.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like, you know, an achievement to boost your confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And look, what it sounds like, in terms of this action thing, there's this sense of we really just need to do more and think less, because how us women love to overthink everything, right?
Yes, for sure.
Our battle's usually half lost before we've even started, because we are so good at coming up with 1,000 worst case scenarios, usually like before breakfast.
Yes.
And before we've even given ourselves a chance. So, ladies, if you are listening, stop thinking. I mean, not entirely stop thinking, but you know what we mean. Stop overthinking and just start doing. Have a quick think about what you want to do and just start doing. Get into action, because sometimes you will fail. Actually, often you will fail.
Yeah.
Sorry. And sometimes the outcome might not be what you quite expected, but sometimes you will win, and sometimes you will conquer that fear. And that's what will keep that confidence increasing. And the more sometimes you get, the more you do win, as opposed to you fail, the more your confidence will increase. And isn't that totally worth that feeling of fear?
Yeah. And I mean, no matter, every time you can't lose, because every time you conquer your fears, even if it's a small amount, or every time you step in, like you learn how to manage the feeling of fear. You learn how to deal with it. You learn different things. It's always learning. And look, I face many fears, and I mean many scary things in my life. And aside from personal fears, I face so many fears in business, as well as, fears that could have brought everything to a halt if I'd let them control me. I was so afraid of writing a book, because I'd never written a book. I didn't know how to write a book. And, worse still, I was petrified no one would read the damn book, but you just do it. I had to do that anyway. And I was afraid, when we're going to write the ultimate confidence course for women, I'd never written an online course before, and that was scary. And it was a massive investment of time and money and energy. And again, I didn't know whether anyone was going to get, want to buy it or get benefit out of it. But we did it anyway. And even this podcast, we've had wanting to launch this podcast on the to-do list for so long, and it kept me up at night so many times, because the fear just wouldn't go away. But again, if we spend all this time and money, and what if it fails, and all those things that come up for everyone, really, they're just, it's no original ideas here.
Yeah. But it stops you. It stopped us from, working on it for so long.
The thought of it was so scary. It stopped us. And then we just did it. We had to just do it. And let me tell you, we are so glad we did. So I'm glad I wrote the book, and I'm glad we've got our online video course. It's made such a difference, but it's pushing through that fear. And the truth is that the fear existed every single time. But the more I got into action, the more I was motivated by my results to do more.
Yeah.
And then, the wheels started turning. So the more I did, the more I was motivated. And the more I was motivated, the more I achieved. And then the more I achieved, the less I felt fear. And, bam, before I know it, the fear has been pushed aside to make way for all the amazing things that I was inspired to create.
Yeah. You don't even know that you've got there, right?
No.
It's such baby steps that once you get to the end and you're talking on a podcast like you are now, you just go, oh my God, how did we get here?
We got here, yeah.
And it seems like such a huge achievement, but really it's been all those little steps along the way that get you there.
Oh, absolutely. And it does. It sounds like it's a simple solution. It sounds like, I bet people are saying, easier said than done, Jody. But, just think about that for a minute. If you could absorb all this new information, use all these great techniques, and channel all of your motivation and inspiration into actually doing things that you want to do, whether you're afraid of them or not, well, isn't that worth it?
I think it totally is.
Totally
I
is.
mean, how could it not be?
Yeah.
How can you not win? Even if the outcome you want isn't the one that you were hoping for, just the fact that you're in action and things are happening and moving forward for you, that's always worth it.
Yeah.
And look, the reality is, just as hesitation breeds even more hesitation and fear will breed even more fear, action will also breed more action.
Yeah.
And the same goes for inspiration and motivation. The more you're inspired, the more you become inspired to be more inspired. It just keeps going. It's like this exponential thing. And the more you do something, the better you will become at it.
Yeah.
So if you really want to manage your fear and you know that doing something about it will get you the result that you want, or just any result, then just go out and do it. And by the same token, if you really want to break these destructive cycles of fear and hesitation that are stopping you from doing the things that you really want to do in your life, and you want to keep the positive and productive cycles working for you instead, then it's up to you.
Yeah.
You need to make a conscious effort to get into action, because only by getting into action will you start to get results, the results that you want. If you just sit back and think about it and don't do anything about it, nothing will happen. Not the thing that you're afraid of, but nothing else either.
No, that's right.
Right? So just stop, please. Just stop settling for the same old, same old. You guys are worth so much more than this. Stop putting up with all the usual outcomes and the standard fears that you're used to, because you know better than that by now. But it's just up to you. You just need to make that choice and make that change.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's back to the old, if you want different results, you have to start operating differently in your life. So, it's facing those fears and really stepping into the ring. And you know what? Try things you've never tried before. Like, go places you've never been before. Speak to people that you've never spoken to before. And slowly you'll see that the things you were afraid of usually never end up happening anyway. And it really goes back to them, or even any of those things, like that fear is fear thing, like that concept, trying new places, speaking to new people will help you. It's still all the same feeling of fear. It will help you feel more fear more often and become more comfortable with the feeling of fear. But you know what? If you take only one thing from this episode, please let it be this. The only way to conquer your fears, and I really, truly mean the only way to conquer your fears, is to get into action. And that's it. Follow the wise old words of our good friends at Nike and just do it. And there's a reason, we've talked about this before, why, Nike's slogan is not just think about it or just wait till maybe you're ready.
Yeah, just hang on a sec.
I mean, there's real power in the idea that when all is said and done, when all the fears have been accounted for and the obstacles have been considered, the only thing left to do is just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the spirit of just doing it, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a review. If you'd like us to keep bringing you more information on building your confidence, we have so many more episodes on the way and you just don't want to miss it.
No, and we've got some great interviews coming up as well. Very soon.
It's very exciting.
So hang around for that, or feel free to head over to risewomen.com, where we've got so many more resources, because when it comes to confidence, we've always got you covered.
Oh, and until next time, remember, with confidence, anything is possible.
Bye.
See you later.